Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is INX Prime Live. Remember, we are on your screens every single Monday to Friday between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Now, on today's show, we have Mr. Siya Mzozoyana, who is actually a business development manager at Rennies BCD Travel. Now, it is one of the leading players in the South African travel industry. Now, Siya does bring valuable insights into how Rennies BCD Travel with his innovative Go-Getter program. Now, this program is very well known, and it is empowering small and medium-sized businesses to effectively and efficiently manage their business travel needs, allowing them to focus on growing their core business and not really worrying about the stuff like traveling. But we do have him in studio with us tonight. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on INX Prime Live.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity.
No, it's a pleasure having you, and I'm very excited to hear about the Go-Getter platform, as well as the work that you've done in the space and how you actually help SMMEs and small and medium-sized businesses. But before we get on to all of that, I mean, you have years of experience in the space. What made you get into the travel industry in particular?
Well, I came into the travel industry because my interest was in technology and how technology can enable businesses and how you can harness technology extensively and specifically in the travel space.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, I'm just looking at, there's many different travel agencies out there. We see them every single day on Instagram, doing sponsored ads, telling people that they have this massive discount to Dubai, to Istanbul. But there's some of them that are very reputable and some of them are not necessarily very reputable. I know that you're working for Rennies BCD Travel in particular. Tell us a little bit more why you chose to actually work with this travel agency.
Okay. Rennies BCD is been 70 years in business. So when you're looking for reputable players who've been years in business, that's one of the first things you look for. Rennies BCD is wholly owned by Bidvest. Under the Bid Travel umbrella. Bidvest, as you know, is an integrated entrepreneur-led business, and that's another thing that attracted me to Rennies BCD.
I love seeing SMMEs grow, and I think the most of South Africans want to see SMMEs grow and become the best that they can be. I mean, it helps the unemployment rate and so many other things as well. Let's just talk about your role, though. You are the business development manager, obviously at the travel agency. What was the most rewarding or most impactful aspect of being a BD or business development manager in that sense?
Thank you. So it's rewarding almost every day. If we understand sort of the struggles that SMEs go through, in fact, the positive impact, let's start with the positive impact. SMEs, how they are such key players in driving job opportunities in South Africa, employing up to 80% of the workforce, on top of contributing some 34% to the GDP. So we absolutely understand the importance of the SME. And to be a big organization like us, to bring a service specific to the entrepreneur to help him to ease his burden in his business is 100% absolutely rewarding on a daily basis.
Yeah. Let's actually chat about the whole Go-Getter program a little bit more, right? So I do understand that there's a lot of different travel agencies out there, and a lot of them target, businesses in particular, but a lot of them are not solely focused on SMMEs. I know you guys are obviously doing that with the Go-Getter program, but what differentiates your program from, let's say, many of your other competitors in the market? Because people are speaking to small businesses, they are speaking to medium-sized businesses, but what differentiates you from them?
Yeah. So it would be, for any business, I think it would be knowing what SMMEs mean to South Africa and our growth. Any business, I think, should focus on SME. And I think what sets us apart is we understand that the SMME or the entrepreneur has several problems, like, for example, access to capital or access to markets, regulatory and sort of statutory, where you have to go through onerous legal, which could be expensive and time-consuming. So what we've done as a big business is say, okay, how can we give these dreamers, these entrepreneurs, these business people access to services which are normally only available to other big businesses? And that's exactly what we've done. I think that really sets us apart. And I think furthermore, we've sort of developed this program on giving these business people access to global best practice, global technology, which they would ordinarily not have access to. We're part of Rennies BCD, which is a global company where we've got access to 120 markets globally with officers in the ground for assistance. So you really, and the whole thing is driven around customer experience, using that technology to enable customer experience. And that's our sole focus. And that's definitely what sets us apart, the customer experience, the customer journey focus.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm getting comments and questions coming in from social media as well. We have a question from Jessica in particular, and she was saying, do you feel like the market is still the same as what it was, let's say 5 or 10 or even 20 years ago? Because 20 years ago, technology wasn't what it is today. She was saying that, you have platforms like bookings.com, and you have all these airlines that are all completely digital today, where you can get discounts from them, but it does take up some time to be able to do all of that. Do you feel like it's still the same way it was, let's say 20 years ago, 15 years ago compared to now?
I think the advent of online services has been absolutely brilliant for many industries, and especially in travel. With online, and part of GoGetter will give you access to an online booking system where you can book a flight, accommodation, a vehicle in less than 3 minutes. But what that technology does, which 20 years ago it probably couldn't, is immediate response, real-time interaction. And of course, online sort of service fees are a lot lower than a specialist consultant. So we're driving that cost-saving message to our small and medium businesses. But besides the cost, what we're doing is not giving them access to an online booking system to sort of make use of our rates. So we've got Rennies rates, part of the Bidvest group, essentially economies of scale. We buy big, and we're able to pre-negotiate rates on behalf of our customers, and then give access to the SMEs on that. So we're not just driving the cost saving using online and negotiated rates. We're also giving them access to duty of care. So you can go online and book a flight. However, there's no one, if travel should go wrong, you've got no one to call to help you out. For example, if you're flying to Miami and the hurricane is there right now, how do you get evacuated out of there? Duty of care is so important to us, as I mentioned, as part of the customer experience. But the leaders of these SMMEs are key people in their businesses, and I think duty of care is 100% critical to them. So that's another add. Of course, as I mentioned, the negotiated rates, as well as access to global best technology.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I think also these value adds do add a lot of additional value in that sense, for exactly what it's called. But we are getting more comments and questions coming in. We do have a question from Devin in particular, and he was saying, how big is a small business to be able to work with you guys? So what is some of the minimum requirements that you would need to be able to work with you guys as a travel agency?
Okay, we do have some criteria. However, I think we actually want to say there's no barrier to entry. So what they should do is email sales@renniesbcdtravel.com, and one of our experienced new business development executives will talk you through the process. Because we really want to open up to all SMEs.
Yeah, you want to see, obviously, all of them grow without a doubt. See, I just want to touch on, you work with a lot of these SMMEs. You work with, you're obviously communicating with all of them. What are some of the normal challenges that they would face through this process of, sorting out their traveling or whatever? What are some of those massive challenges that happen?
A very big one is they don't know what travel actually costs them. It's sort of, they get on the internet, they book a flight, and if you look at it on an annual basis, if you ask a small and medium business owner, how much have you spent on travel? They don't know. So that's the first call to action, to actually find out how much you actually are spending. And that is one of the biggest ones. And then the second one, I touched on it briefly before, is when you book online and you don't have the backing or a travel management company services, is if something goes wrong, then you've got no one to turn to, and that's a major issue in the travel management space.
Yeah, I think let's also talk about those type of case studies, right? Because we've heard of many incidences on X, for example, which was Twitter, where people, even on YouTube, for example, where people would do these bookings, for example, hypothetically on, let's say bookings.com or Airbnb, and to find out that, that booking isn't actually, actually there in the first place, or it's been cancelled through a host or whatever it might be. And the person now traveled all the way to that venue, but it doesn't have accommodation, it has to be investigated. What's the difference between just doing it yourself and having you guys? Is there a whole team behind it to ensure that, that never happens? Or how would you be able to handle a situation like that?
Okay, thank you. So, as I mentioned before, we bring to the fore things like international SOS. International SOS used to be sort of a medi-evac company where if if you had to get injured in a certain country, how are you going to get evacuated back? I mean, you get caught in a foreign country, no access to medical aid. And it's grown into this organization where there's political unrest, whatever it is that needs you to get out of that country, we can assist. And the issue is you've also got people popping up who are essentially committing fraud. It's very important. We've been 70 years in the business. We've got 90%, 97% client retention. And so when you are looking for any supplier, track record is very important. And also we have been voted the best travel management company in Africa and South Africa in the last couple of years. So track record, what our suppliers, our clients say about us, that's who voted us. It wasn't us voting for ourselves. Yeah. So these are very important things before you sort of engage in any service, to do a little bit of due diligence on the supplier that you wish to use.
Guys, we will definitely want to hear from you guys as well. Let us know if you've ever been scammed before when you were doing any of these travel arrangements or planning out your travel for the end of the year. You can definitely let us know on our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, X, and many of our other platforms as well. I mean, so just kind of touching back onto that, right? The fact that, we do have a lot of the stuff happening in South Africa, unfortunately. What are some of the red flags that people can notice, our everyday public and our audience? What are some of the red flags that they can notice almost immediately and identify that, look, this could potentially be a scam? What are some of those tell signs that you could share with us?
Fly by night. Yeah. I mentioned it before. We've been in business for 70 years, so you really do want to look for those that have been in a business where there's a reputational risk at stake. We're part of Bidvest Group as well, so there's a reputational. We're part of a big organization, and I think it's always wise to look at track record.
Yeah, but I mean also just in terms of maybe other tell signs. So for example, I'm not talking about your guys' business. I'm saying for potential scammers out there, I'm sure you've interacted with a lot of people who said, I've been scammed before, this happened to me. What are some of the tell signs that you can share? Maybe, for example, they ask for full payment upfront, maybe paid through cryptocurrency. What are some of those tell signs?
Yes. So we do have travel bodies which also help to vet and verify travel management companies and travel agencies, that is IATA and ISATA. So you could quite easily get in contact with them and find out, do they have an IATA license, an IATA certificate, or an ISATA certificate? And this could also, if they don't, then that's a major red flag because they're not regulated.
Yeah, guys, definitely pay attention to something like that. I think that plays such an important role. But see, again, just looking at the fact that, we looked at a lot of people are going to be traveling towards the end of the year, and that's families in particular. But we know that businesses have been traveling throughout the year, and we do hope a lot of them definitely get into contact with you so that they can actually aid their business travels as well. But again, Siya, thank you so much for joining us tonight on INX Prime Live.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure being here.
Awesome, guys. That is Siya Mzozoyana, who is actually the Business Development Manager at Rennies BCD Travel. Now, if you guys are an SMME, a small business, a medium-sized business, any of those in particular, make sure that you do get into contact with them to assist you with your travel needs. Now,